Hello and welcome to Women Wednesday and our Goddess Connection video series. My name is Sheree Hudson. If you haven't had a chance to take a look at the other two videos, they have a lot of information to offer you. One is on societal perceptions, especially around age, and the second is the hammer. As women, we definitely are so hard on ourselves. Today, we're going to take a look at the goddess style that we are. So, which goddess style are you? And if you haven't taken the survey on go-goddess.com, please go ahead and do so. And just know that there's a tendency that we lean towards one particular goddess style versus the others. So I want to get into it because I'm really excited about this information that I can share with you about the different goddess styles. So, which goddess are you? And finding out which goddess that you are really helps you understand your strengths, and when your strengths are overused, how they can become weaknesses or areas of opportunities. Also, how do we recalibrate ourselves? Because if we have a tendency to go to one area and a situation demands a particular style, how do we maneuver that style to fit that particular situation? So we're going to take a look at all of that, and I'm really excited about getting into it. So there are actually 4 goddess types, and it's broken down into these 4 areas. And so we have the first goddess, which is called the power goddess. And when you look at the power goddess, they're usually somebody that's very formal, somebody that's, knows what they want. They're, got this real vision in front of them, and they're sort of like moving in that direction. And then we have the perfect goddess. Now, this particular style is someone that's definitely into perfection. They'll keep repeating, doing some information over and over, and it has to be right. It has to be perfect. So we're going to take a look at that because there's some great qualities about that, and there's some areas that can be worked on. Then the nurturing goddess. So in regards to the nurturing goddess and very altruistic, how does this goddess take care of herself in regards to nurturing? And filling her cup up is so important, right? So that you can be available for other people. So we're going to talk about the nurturing goddess. And then the team goddess is about a level of networking, of being able to pull people together, create groups. And so we're going to take a look at that goddess style. Now, I want to be very clear in this space right now. We are all of these goddess styles. There is one goddess style that we have a tendency to lean towards. And when we lean towards that particular goddess style, there can be a way in which our strengths, when overused, can be detrimental, can really affect relationships in a particular way. And we're going to really unpack each one of these. They're so powerful, they're so amazing, and I really want to share this information with you. It's so important here, so very important. So here's the power goddess. So when you take a look at the power goddess, she's definitely a woman that's very assertive. She's very clear. Communication is, okay, we're getting things done, we're moving forward, very clear, concise, and to the point. So assertive behaviors, which when you look at different roles that the power goddess plays, it's very critical to have these types of behaviors. A power goddess is a woman that loves to take on challenges. They could be the one when they say, hey, we've got this new project, who wants to take it on? She's the one, I'm right there, got her hand up and ready to go and ready to make things happen. The power goddess is also a woman who enjoys risk-taking. They don't have all the answers. They jump in and they sort of figure things out along the way. And there's definitely very successful women that have these particular power goddess style behaviors. And when they're overused, though, if they become a way that, they are too assertive, what does that look like? Well, here it goes. So in the power goddess, where they would serve them to calibrate and to be very aware and sensitive to, are there assertive behaviors crossing the line, and are they behaviors looking at or being perceived by others that is forceful, sort of like a freight train going down the railroad, and what happens is the freight train is just moving everything out of its way. So very important for the power goddess to be aware of that. Also, they have a tendency to have an imbalance in their work and work-life balance. They're very task-oriented. They're, attempting to get things done. And I can so identify with the power goddess because actually I do sit here. It's a very type A personality. And so when I'm looking at things where I'm too task-oriented, how do I unpack myself? How do I, take steps back and say, okay, I need to smell the roses, or I need to ask someone how their day was or their weekend, and listen. So again, finding ways that we can actually be aware of these behaviors, and when they're overused, what could be the ramifications, and how do we calibrate ourselves into a way that we stay with the strengths and not overuse them. So let's take a look at the perfect goddess. So the perfect goddess has strengths, and one of their strengths is that they're very cautious. This is someone that usually loves research, loves data. They really like facts and figures, and they're very cautious and a bit suspicious, wanting to know, is this the right information? Is this the right individual? So they take their time, and they're very structured, and they really love things in their place. And when you're looking at data, and when you're looking at accounting, and when you're looking at fiscal and financing, everything has its place. And so the perfect goddess really strives in that area. Also, being very fair and principled is very important to the perfect goddess. And so you could find them in research and development. You could find the perfect goddess and this particular style resonating with accounting and mathematics, and everything is data-driven, data analysis. So definitely a very strong point here in regards to their style and their behaviors. Now, what happens though is if their strengths are overused and they become too structured, if they become too data-driven, they might take a long time to make a decision because they're looking for the research. They're uncovering everything, and they sort of go into an analysis paralysis, and really doesn't support them. And another thing that people see is that they're almost aloof because they're thinking, because they're working things in their brain, or maybe they're behind closed doors and they kind of want to look at research and they want to look at information. And so people might perceive them as being aloof and, not really wanting to connect with people. And that's not the case. It's just the behaviors. That's how it comes off. If people are constantly looking at research, constantly looking at being right, constantly, so, and it gets into the rightness. It's interesting because, in my family, I see this when this particular perfect goddess behavior is overused. I almost see them shutting down or withdrawing. And when they come out, they have a lot of data to say, look, see, I was right. And I'm not sure how often that goes off very well in relationships when somebody's always having to be right. So it's just the caution in regards to being aware of these strengths that can turn into weaknesses when they're overused. Now we're going to take a look at the nurturing goddess. So the nurturing goddess is one that is like the protector of others. They want to be there for other people. They want to support others. They're advocates for other people. And they're very other people focused. They're aware of others' needs. They can almost sense where somebody is needing something or people are drawn to them. They lend an ear, they listen, they are helping other people, they'll give their shirt off of their back. And so they want to make sure that people are taken care of, and they're always in service, always in service. How can I help you? What can I do? And they're really looking to help release burden from people so that the other person's journey is easier. And they are so much about people. And as you can tell, as we're going down this next route and taking a look at that strength being overused, they are so much about other people that they overextend themselves. They have a hard time saying no. So they're always saying yes. But then what's interesting is sometimes they get upset about that. It's like, no, I really don't want to do this, but I said I would, so I'm going to do it. And so in the spirit of it, it's not healthy. And so how does the nurturing goddess really calibrate this behavior and not overextend herself? The other thing that could happen is that they're not creating boundaries. So no is very important to learn and to ensure that their boundaries are created, and knowing that not to self-sacrifice and giving so much of themselves that they're depleted. I love the analogy when they say in an airplane, when the oxygen mask comes down, you put it on yourself first, and then when you're done and you're secured with your oxygen mask, at that point, you can then help somebody else. And that's so important for the nurturing goddess to totally understand and to really resonate with that, because they can really overextend themselves almost to the point of self-sacrificing and not creating boundaries for themselves. So now we're going to take a look at the team goddess. So the team goddess is very group-oriented. This goddess loves to know a lot of people and loves to be known by a lot of people. They really enjoy networking, and they're also flexible and adaptable. And the reason why they are is because they move with the group. What's in the highest and the greatest good? It kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you've ever seen Star Trek, but there was a scene where Spock put himself into this chamber where it had radioactive fumes and everything. And, you know, William Shatner is outside and he's looking at his friend Spock who's dying. And, you know, it's a very dramatic scene. And Spock says, you know, the needs of the one or the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one, right? And so this is really a team goddess, very flexible, adaptable. It's about, you know, the team winning and moving forward, very group oriented. And the other part is they're very cohering too as well. But what are some of those blind spots from the team goddess? Well, what can happen is groupthink, or you're not sure about them, you know. And what I mean by that is, like, do they take a stand? Do they not take a stand? Are they making a decision to move forward here? They're so flexible. At some point, people also think that they can have very wishy-washy behaviors because they're not taking a stand on a situation. There's also a misinterpretation of their actions. And so that's also important. And as I was saying earlier, I know my numbers kind of got mixed up there, but group think. And so if they're not taking a stand on a particular issue, or they become too flexible, too adaptable, that people may misinterpret their actions as being wishy-washy, and it could also be where they're involved in a lot of group things. So just things to be aware of. So I love to share this information about the teen goddess and the nurturing goddess, as well as the perfect and the power goddess, because this is great information. It's great information to understand how it affects us, and understanding that when situations come up, how do I recalibrate myself? How do I use the particular goddess that would actually fit into the situation so that I have better results? I think that's very important. Also, since we lean towards one, how do we balance ourselves out? It'd be nice to, use all of these different styles when appropriate. And so when you select the goddess, depending on the situation, and if it works, great. If it doesn't work, then select another goddess style. This is the great thing about understanding these different styles, is to become very nimble with them. When you're very nimble with these types of styles and use them appropriately as needed for the situation, it becomes very, very effective as a goddess style. So the 4 are the power goddess. You can sometimes find them in leadership roles, whether it's formal or informal. You have the perfect goddess, love data, love that information. Then you have the nurturing goddess. Usually they're in service to help others, to help other people, so that other people are successful and be advocates. And then you have the team goddess, who is about the group. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one. So I wanted to share that with you, and I just find that this information is very intriguing, and it also helps us to understand that we have all of these goddess styles within us, and the more that we use them, the more that we kind of play around with them and understand them, and when situations arise, pick the goddess that's most appropriate for the situation, and find out how it could be different. So I hope that you had an opportunity to take the survey, as I mentioned earlier. If not, go to go-goddess.com, take the survey, find out which goddess that you are, what style do you lean towards. Look at those strengths, capitalize them, celebrate them, love them, embrace them. Know that when that particular behavior is being overused, how it can really affect situations in a negative way, and how to recalibrate yourself back from that negativity that's not working for you. So thank you so much. I will be back for another video series for Women Wednesday, and continue the video series, and I look forward to seeing you then. Thank you.